welcome back to They Did What? Your source of the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today I'll be covering part 2 to the story I covered earlier, which is titled Easter Throwaway Husband. And again, shout out to Bill for sending this story. And guys, I'm not going to do a big recap because you all just watched this, and if you don't remember, go back and watch again. But where things left off, our guy confronted his wife, stormed out of the house with a suitcase, went off to a motel, told his family, and lo and behold, she tracked him down some way, somehow, and he had the cops show up and basically escorted the hell out of there. Now he's getting a restraining order, and now we're going to pick up where I left off as to how he handles things and how this whole thing wraps up. So he continues with his story saying, I made it to work the next day. Everyone asked how I was feeling since they all thought that I left due to being ill. I told them I felt a bit I felt a bit under the weather, and told them I'd be working in my office all day just in case what I had was contagious. I called my boss and asked him for a good time to meet in my office. 15 minutes later, he was sitting across from me, and I'm sure he was there to get an update on the project my team was working on. When I explained the previous day I discovered my wife had been cheating, he seemed almost as shocked as I was. So clearly his boss and him have a good relationship, and the boss probably knows her. I didn't begin to mention I'd soon be looking for another job out of state. But I did convey there was no chance of reconciliation, and as far as I was concerned, my wife was dead to me. It was all I could do to maintain composure and not break down. But I explained to my boss I planned to dive into my work to distract me from my personal life. I explained at that moment I needed the actual work far more than I needed the paycheck which came with it. He assured me I could work as much as I wanted and even crash it in my office when I needed. I thanked him for his kindness before asking him to keep everything between us until the word leaked out. Well, a good boss and mentor will keep his mouth shut instead of gossip with the employees. After work that day, I went to my parents' house for dinner. They all had my siblings and their spouses over as well. My parents called me aside as dinner was ending and suggested I let everybody there know what had happened and was about to happen. There were still a few people eating when I began to talk, but the news sort of ruined everybody's appetites. I can imagine, because they probably all liked her before. They knew her for years. They were all shocked and enraged as I had been. Two of my siblings had gotten calls from my ex when I left and had felt sorry for her. Both wished they'd known what was going down so they could give her a piece of their minds. I assured them and the rest of the family that I just wanted my wife and anyone related to her ignored, blocked from contact, and ostracized. I explained it wasn't her family's fault that my wife is a worthless WHORE, and my wife had proven she was unworthy of any attention, positive or negative, sent her way. He's right. Don't even give her negative attention, because the silence will make her crazy. I then explained I'd be looking for a new job in another state over the coming weeks. Some of my family were angered. They weren't mad at me for feeling that is what I needed to do. They were mad my wife had done that to me, and I was being punished by being removed from those that love and care about me. It didn't seem even remotely fair, and I agreed. But the chances of getting every human related to her to leave the state out of shame was not happening. The next day, I met with my lawyer for the very first time. We live in an at-fault state, so the stack of papers proving infidelity was a welcome sight to her. I'm glad he got a female attorney. They know the bullshit women do. I tried to approach that meeting with 100% logic and zero emotion. All emotions are temporary, and letting your emotions lead you through life is a recipe for utter chaos. Exactly. I explained that she and her staff would need to be the go-between my wife and I until the divorce was finalized. I also explained there was a restraining order in place. I told her I did not care about any of our possessions. Everything we owned reminded me of my soon-to-be ex, so I didn't want a single item or the house that we lived in. Well, obviously this guy must have paperwork. He has probably tax returns and other important documents that he should, birth certificate, social security card, unless he keeps that in a safe deposit box. But I'm sure there's important shit at the house that he should get to some point. But obviously he doesn't care about the couch or the plates and stuff like that. The only thing I was concerned with was that she could not touch my 401k or other investments given me prior to marriage. That's when my lawyer asked if I wanted the divorce to be fair and equal divorce or go scorched earth. I looked down and thought for a few moments. The emotional turmoil I was enduring had reached a point it was causing actual physical pain. I knew the events I was living through had changed everything forever, and there was no going back. A week before, if I had been presented with fair or no holds barred option, I would have gone with the fair route. But I felt nothing but loathing and disgust for the woman who lied to me nearly my whole life and betrayed me like no one else had. I don't blame him. And by the way, guys, we have no idea, one, how long this affair has been going on with this one dude, and how many other ones were going on. I mean, he claimed that they were each other's first, but she may not be the first in other parts of her body. Well, I instructed my lawyer to take every available avenue to make the divorce as painful as possible. Any item my lawyer managed to get from my soon-to-be ex for me would just go into a big bonfire till everything was finalized. But at the moment, I envisioned that bonfire being so large and so bright it could be seen from space. I wanted her to go after my wife financially, and if they could figure out who the affair partner was, to go after him as well. My state has alienation of affection laws, which allows a person to sue someone who contributed to the end of a marriage in civil court. Sweet. I'd like to know where he lives. I told my lawyer if they discovered he is in a relationship to contact his partner. In short, I want to make sure everything hell on earth for them both. I wanted to convey to my wife I hated her beyond words, and I was out for blood. I wanted to destroy her life like she so casually destroyed mine and let the pieces fall where they may. Damn, this guy is hell-bent on wreaking havoc. And you know what? I don't blame him. My lawyer called me at work today to let me know my wife had been served at her job. So obviously, little time had passed. She asked me to come by after work to talk with the messengers they'd sent to serve the papers to my wife. Just knowing she'd been served and was grasping, I would never be a part of her life again was enough for me. But I decided to listen to the messenger in the sole hopes he might tell my soon-to-be ex, tell me that my soon-to-be ex jumped out a window after being served. While he and I sat in the office without my lawyer present, as he explained that he'd taken the paperwork by the school at around 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, here's the part, like the restraining order part with the cops at the end of the last episode, that seems a little off to me. I gotta be honest here. But you never know, and I'll let you guys decide. Well, he checked in with the front office at the school as a courier, and a member of the faculty led him to my wife's classroom. She was in the middle of a lesson as the employee opened the door. The courier said he walked past the staff member, asked my wife to verify her name, and told her she had now been served with official divorce papers due to infidelity. Right there in the middle of teaching a bunch of kids. Now, okay, this courier went to the office, because you can't walk into a freaking school, went to the office, checked in, and had a staff member escort him all the way to the classroom, so it's not like he just randomly walked around the hallway. I mean, you all know, sadly, the crap that happens at schools. You know what I mean with that. Watch what I say here. But the fact that he was able to do that in the middle of the day, like could have been during a break or come back later, but middle of the day and interrupt the lesson, I don't know. Seems a little weird, but okay, you never know. Right in front of the fucking kids. Funny. He said my soon-to-be ex was obviously shocked at the speed I was moving, embarrassed to be served at work in front of her students, and was fighting back the tears. Aw, poor girl. He told me as he walked out that she fell onto the floor and began sobbing uncontrollably. That was all good to hear, and I was glad she got the paperwork. Honestly, I'm not even sure why I'm writing this out. Because it makes you feel better, that's why. It's been a bit cathartic, but I don't need advice. Well, at least I don't think so. As stated, I have everything planned out and the divorce is in motion and will take place. I just hurt so bad I'm truly struggling to find any reason to carry on. I don't want to. I'm not thinking about ending myself. There is no part of myself that wants to die. I want my life back, and that is an impossibility. There can be no new life in my future with somebody else. Well, how can I put this? If he truly indeed wants a future life with somebody else, he can. But he's got a whole lot of healing to do, and he's been, sadly, through this experience, R-pilled. And once that happens, when you've been badly burned, you never are the same. Ever. And he shouldn't be. He'll never be able to trust again. guaranteed. And you can't have a relationship without trust. But his are more for religious reasons. But this guy clearly, as a relationship guy, does want kids. So that isn't over, but it's going to be a long time before he gets to that point. And understandably, his whole world's been turned upside down, so he's going to talk like this. She destroyed something pure and beautiful one could only attain once in a given lifetime. And despite her tears, she didn't even care. She took what we had and turned it to ashes with her infidelity. I'm struggling to envision my life totally alone until the day I die, and I don't want to go on. I hate myself for ever giving her a minute of my time, much less years of my life. I feel like my entire life has been and will be wasted for life for sure. Sure, I have a career and the capacity to move on, but doing it alone the rest of my days is just overwhelming me. Well, bro, you gotta be alone for a while, and you gotta heal. But that doesn't mean your whole world's over. Life is short, my man. You're 27. You could live to be 97. You want to spend the next 70 years miserable? Now, we can all joke, ha ha ha, marriage in itself is misery, but you get my point. I suppose I need to explain why I said I will never be a father and will be alone from here on out. But I was raised a certain way with a certain mindset. My wife, too, was raised this way as well. It's one of the reasons we were so close. I guess in the end, she didn't give a damn about her proper upbringing and decided to destroy us both in the process. I was raised to believe that humans were never meant to run around sowing oats and having meaningless sex of random hookups. I believe the most ideal relationship a human can achieve in life is one where two have only known each other, and he says known in quotes. I understand in these modern times that point of view sounds archaic to most, if not all, but two people discovering intimacy together, every act of intimacy is a beautiful thing. Well, hey, if you can have two people with the same values do that, and it works, great. But yeah, in these times, as really the Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 times that we're in right now, that's very challenging. He was in for that, not her. Nobody has to worry about past partners. Nobody has to worry about diseases and pregnancy. Nobody has to worry so they aren't doing something as well as previous partners that their significant others had, because there were no other partners. You learn together, you grow together, and instead of living a life that would remove any possibility of STDs, unwanted pregnancies, paternity fraud, etc. Our world has made ways to correct those mistakes instead of having to face consequences of foolish people. Two becomes one, and nothing can come between them. Or that's what I was led to believe. Well, man, I'm sorry to say that's fantasy. I mean, yeah, is it possible that two people with the same values get together and actually make it work? Yeah, it's possible. It's rare. That is the way romantic relationships were meant to be, but humanity has run away from that mindset. That's what my wife claimed to believe to me more times than I could count. Well, that's probably why she was covering things up. She was claiming that more than you can count so that you would suspect her. I couldn't begin to tell how many times my wife claimed to be grateful we lived our lives that we did. She said she cherished the fact that we could get to know each other in a way few people can anymore. I guess that was all BS lies, but it doesn't even matter to me anymore. Because of that mindset, there can never be reconciliation, and there is no way I could ever view her as attractive after seeing what she was doing behind my back. 1,000 gallons of bleach and pressure washer couldn't remove the diseased infidelity filth she subjected me to. This guy, for what he's going through, he's got a sense of humor. I view her as a defiled, dirty, and diseased. A week ago, I could just think about my wife and get aroused. Now she could lay before me butt naked and ready, and my reaction would be to spit on her in disgust before again vomiting. As I've known someone else, I can never have that bond with another human being. You can have a bond with another woman. You can have that bond with another woman, but this ain't going to be the same one because obviously statistically that woman is going to have other dudes. I couldn't date a virgin even if I wanted because due to my relationship with my wife, I couldn't be what that hypothetical virgin deserves. Well, this comes up to his upbringing and religious points of view, teachings, and that's his own business, but I think a lot of him talking like this because he's deeply hurt and feels lost, and I get it, but in time he'll heal and he might see things differently. I'm sure I will get some hate from various progressive readers who view SEX as something to do with random people for fun and list SEX as a hobby on their Facebook page. That's all fine and smurfy. Opinions differ, and I know my viewpoint is far from standard anymore. But one man and one woman is the way it has always been supposed to be. Keyword supposed to be, not what it was. My wife turned out to be the Jezebel cum dumpster, so that's my loss and my own stupidity for choosing so poorly. I just don't think it's fair that I didn't commit to the sin, but I'm the one who has to endure the hell of my life for the rest of my days totally alone. Bro, you don't have to be totally alone. Okay, I've said before. Now he has little minor updates and opinions here he's going to share. He says, those that are private messaging me with harsh messages about the words one man, one woman being homophobic is not meant that way. I meant two people, and regardless of gender, I do feel that the two people in one lifetime, the bond is best. People were actually giving him a hard time saying he was being homophobic. You freaking kidding me? What in the entire story here led to people think that has a remotely rational brain? Fucking Redditors. And I'm standing by that. But I'm not editing it, in fact, now that it's been posted. So save your time messaging me to try to claim I'm anti-gay. What any two people do in privacy of their own company is their business, and certainly none of mine. I cannot stress enough I don't care about anybody's sex life. Straight, gay, whatever, I don't care. It's a major reason I don't want to know anybody else's specifics about my wife's affair. Another thing he says here is this is obviously a little bit later in time, I've been doing a good job focusing solely on work the last few days. I've made massive amounts of progress on the company project since all my time has been spent in my office. It seems stupid to pay for the motel bed when my office is a comfortable couch. I woke up this morning with every intention of getting further ahead on the project as well as being my job search in other states. But when I sat down at my desk chair and saw the date on my computer, I had a realization that brought me to tears. Now I'm done. Today is my wife's birthday. Oh, God. Obviously, I had zero plans to send her any well wishes, but it made me consider something I had not. That date will always belong to her, at least in my mind. It was bad enough thinking about upcoming holidays, making me flash back to happier times when I had some. I think I could have always ignored those days and just work, but today's date will always bring her to mind. Yeah, you're always going to remember it. It is what it is, but it won't bother you as much as time goes on. No matter what I do or where I can go, I cannot get away from that. Moving away and avoiding her doesn't really remove her from my life because she was my life. I want to erase every memory I had of her in my mind. I want to forget I'd ever knew her. What were cherished memories just 1 week ago are now nothing but bitter memories of lies and deception. I can't endure that. I just cannot. You will in time, brother. Time, I wouldn't say time heals all wounds, but time will heal most wounds, or at least minimize the pain. It's amazing how quickly life can flip just a script on you and destroy your entire world overnight. Obviously, from the comments I got, many people loathe me, my views, my beliefs. I'm actually fine with that. I'm honestly not usually one to use language in terms I use in my posts. I just felt her actions said much harsher things to me than any words I could say to my wife ever could. Dude, who gives a shit if you piss people off? You can't say anything in this world that pisses somebody off, so own it. But when things end, they end, much like life. Sure, I could seek out help and try to convince myself that it's all been bad as it seemed, but my grandpa taught me not to blow smoke up anybody's ass, especially my own. So it's done, and so am I. This obviously isn't the time or manner I envision it ending, but sometimes this life can be cruel to continue. God bless you each and every one. May you know peace in this life. I would not wish love upon anybody, even my worst enemy. Well, that's kind of a weird thing to say, and to me, it kind of sounds like he was thinking about ending it all. But I don't think that's the case. Now, unfortunately, I don't see any updates from here. I think obviously this guy was deeply hurt. He made his whole world, or a lot of his world, his wife, which is the worst thing you can do, even though you think she's great. Because when you put all your happiness on somebody else, you're going to be disappointed. End of story, you know. You can love your wife, but don't be in love with her. Don't make her your whole world. And you can be very, very badly disappointed on multiple fronts here. But anyhow, guys, I feel bad for the guy, but I think that in time, with help and healing and all that, and people that care about him, and probably a little therapy if it gets that bad, he'll be all right in time. He'll be all the wiser. I think he's just deeply upset. That's why he's like, that's it. I'm going to be doomed to be alone the rest of my life. And, you know, he's young, and I think he'll never be the same. But at the end of the day, it's his life. And life, We are masters of our own destiny. I've said this before. We can't control what happens to us, but how we handle things, that's what we can control. And awful shit can happen. And they usually tend to happen a lot all at the same time. And so I don't want him to spend the rest of his life miserable and all that. So he has a choice to learn from what happened and move on and be, because if he wallows in misery the rest of his life, she won. But if he heals and turns things around and gets back on track and makes himself happy and all that, then he wins. End of story. But the main reason I did this story is the boss moves he made. I'm glad he didn't, try to give her a second chance or listen to her bullshit and all that. No, he was done. Got out of the evidence, got the lawyer, went to town, all that. And we didn't hear anything about the divorce. We didn't hear about, did he get the house? Did he get the assets? All these things. But her serving her, that was pretty good. That was entertaining, right in front of the class, even though it seemed quite off. But the point is, guys, you got to handle things like a boss. But you also can't let this thing destroy you. Now, again, I'll look around later on to see if I find any updates anywhere. I didn't see any, but, you never know. But that's how you handle things. But I disagree with him acting like his whole life is over after this. That is on him and how he chooses to handle the situation. He can't let her win. Because if he just wallows in misery the rest of his life, she wins, like I said before. And that goes for all you guys that, if you ever find yourself in his shoes. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.